Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Payton's Playbook. I am so excited to get this first episode out to you guys, and I am so excited to start my journey with you guys in doing this podcast. This is going to be your go-to podcast for all things sports, not just the CU Buffs, but also college football, NFL, NBA, NHL, and a little bit of gymnastics thrown in. So be sure you guys hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, because this is going to be a podcast you do not want to miss. So let's get the first episode of Payton's Playbook started. Welcome back, Buffs Nation, and welcome back to anybody just tuning in for the very first episode of Payton's Playbook. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about the upcoming 2025 season for the Colorado Buffs football team under the one and only Coach Prime. But before we talk about the upcoming season, we have to go back and look at last season as Coach Prime's very first year as the head coach of the Buffs football team. Buffs Nation, and welcome to anybody joining for the very first time and for the very first episode of Payton's Playbook. I'm so excited to be here, and today we're talking about the upcoming 2025 season for the CU Buffs. I'm your host, Payton Kraft, and today we're going to be talking about transfer portal shakeups, talk about some new coaching staff that you will see on that field, as well as some key players, as well as my predictions and the prediction for tonight's game against North Dakota State. So let's set the stage. Last season, the Buffs started out with a bang, going 3-0, but that was short-lived as the Buffs ended the season 4-8 with a 1-8 record in Pac-12 play. However, the season was filled with excitement, and the Coach Prime hype was real, bringing unprecedented media attention, big-time recruits, performances by Lil Wayne, and even Fox, Big Noon Kickoff, and ESPN's College Game Day made their way to Boulder, which was nothing short but exciting, especially for the CU Buffs football team. Now, this season is a whole new story. We are going to be talking transfer portal shakeups, new coaching staff, some new key players you guys need to look out for, and my record prediction. However, let's not forget the one thing that Coach Prime still has right now, and that is the Coach Prime Blenders sunglasses. And for me, those sunglasses are not only just a fashion statement that everyone now knows as Coach Prime and the Buffs, but that is exactly what the new era of football for the Buffs was. Flashy, confident, unafraid to be bold. But as we know, the Buffs hit a wall last season, and the weaknesses, especially on that offensive line, clearly started showing towards the end of that season. So as we head into 2025, the Buffs are looking not only to prove more that they are just about hype, but that they are still here to win some football games. All right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the transfer portal. For the second year in a row, more than 40 players have transferred out of CU Boulder. It's been a revolving door for Coach Prime, but Coach Prime has used this to his advantage. He is bringing in 55 brand new scholarship players for the season. The question is, can this constant revolving door, reshuffling, finally lead to success on the field? This offseason, the Buffs also made some significant hires, including elevating Pat Shurmur to permanent offensive coordinator, bringing in Robert Livingston to coach the defense, and Phil Lodeholt to work on what was the worst offensive line in Power 4 conferences last season. And boy, do they have their work cut out for them. But there are some key players that hopefully can help this CU Buffs football team get onto that scoreboard and win some more games than last season. So let's zero in on some key players that could be the difference makers for the Buffs this season. First up, you have Shedeur Sanders, Coach Prime's son, the Buffs star quarterback who was here last season as well. But last season, Shedeur was sacked more than 50 times in just 11 games. That's right, 50 times in 11 games. So that's pretty brutal when you think about those numbers. But with the addition of signature signee Jordan Seaton, a highly touted offensive lineman, hopefully there's hope that Shedeur will have some more time in the pocket to showcase his skills. Seaton is also the real deal. He is going to be crucial in Shedeur Sanders staying upright against a very tough schedule, which includes FCS powerhouse North Dakota State tonight. You have Nebraska, and let's not forget the Colorado State team that nearly upset the Buffs last season. And there is another key player that you guys probably want to keep your eye on the field, especially tonight, and that is LaJohntay Wester, the former FAU standout. He's joining the receiver group, but he is also a dual threat. He's not just a receiver, he is also on special teams. He averaged nearly 20 yards per punt last season and racked up over 1,000 receiving yards with 8 touchdowns. So this guy is electric, and he could be the spark the Buffs need to light up that scoreboard, especially tonight against North Dakota State. Well, speaking of schedule, the schedule is no cakewalk, and that starts tonight against North Dakota State. Right now, the over-under for that game is 60.5, and the Buffs are favored to win that game by 10 points. So this is what I got. I'm taking the money line for the Buffs. I am not having them cover the 10 points, but I have them winning tonight's game. I'm also going to take the under. I'm not going to say that game is going over 60.5 points. So I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Buffs money line, but I'm not going to take the Buffs covering the point spread. So I have the final score of the game being 31-24. Buffs win their first game of the season, which will kick them off to a great start to the season, as after tonight, they will be heading to Nebraska and then to Fort Collins to play the Colorado State rivals. So North Dakota State, that's a team that's been a dominant force in the FCS. Then there's Nebraska, the historical rival, and a Colorado State team that is looking for revenge after nearly pulling off the upset last season. These games are not just opportunities for wins, but for the Buffs to prove that they do belong in that national conversation, especially with the 12-team playoff this year. So as we wrap up this podcast, the very first episode of Payton's Playbook, here are some questions that I want you to think about and answer in the comments down below. You could pick what you want to answer. You could just do the record, but here's what I just want you thinking about for tonight's game and for the Buffs football season. So the first question is, can the Buffs break through and become bowl eligible after back-to-back losing seasons? Will the revamped offensive line be enough to protect Shedeur Sanders and keep the offensive humming? And can Coach Prime's star-studded recruiting class live up to the hype, or will the constant roster turnover and transfer portal shakeups be too much to overcome? My prediction, the Buffs are hovering right around a 5.5 win total for the season. I'm going to go over, but barely. I am going to go that they are finishing 7-5. It's going to be a roller coaster of a season, but this one could set the stage for something special for the CU Buffs. All right, Buffs fans, that is a wrap for the very first episode of Payton's Playbook. The 2025 season for the CU Buffs is shaping up to be a pivotal one for Colorado football. Coach Prime has all the pieces in place, but can he pull it all together for this season? That is the main question that everyone is asking, and we will start to see a little bit of a glimpse of tonight against North Dakota State. So, as I said here, go Buffs, always go Buffs. Be sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, because I will be coming to you a lot more this season for all things college football, and you will not want to miss any episode here on Payton's Playbook. Don't forget to also follow me on social media, subscribe to the podcast, and leave a comment if you enjoyed today's episode. We'll catch you next time on Payton's Playbook. Until then, stay hyped, stay proud, and go Buffs.